So you join, you will really enjoy because sir ku tame mane it is your privilege. Mane you are really honored to listen to Bishnu sir. He speaks very nicely, very informative, and I have heard just once or two, but you will be just surprised and mesmerized. Hello, Anjana. Anjana,
Yes, ma'am.
ये कृष्णा सर ज्वाइन कले.
Ma'am, join करनांतु.
अच्छा, जावेदा मैडम ज्वाइन कले.
मैडम join କରିଥିଲେ ତାପରେ leave ନେଇଗଲେ ମୁଁ ଦେଖୁଛି ମ୍ୟାଡାମ ଗୋଟେ minute.
अच्छा हो. ଆମେ ଆମେ ଆଉ ଅଛି 3 ମିନିଟ. ଆମେ ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ କରିବା. କୃଷ୍ଣ ସାର୍ ପଳେଇ ଆସନ୍ତୁ. ଶ୍ରୀନିବାସ ସାର୍, ଗାୟତ୍ରୀ କର ମ୍ୟାଡମ ଜଏନ୍ କଲେ.
ନାଇଁ ମ୍ୟାଡାମ କରିନାହାନ୍ତି.
अच्छा, गायत्री कर मैडम को फोन कर गोटे. आउ जावेदा मैडम तो जॉइन करिवे. लेट हर जॉइन.
ମ୍ୟାଡାମ କୃଷ୍ଣ ସାର୍ join କଲେ ଏବେ.
ओके. सर कृष्ण सर जॉइन कले नी. सर नमस्कार. कृष्ण सर नमस्कार.
कौन कृष्णचंद्र भल अछ?
ये अंजना सर
अनम्यूट कर.
ମ୍ୟାଡାମ ସାର୍ ମ୍ୟୁଟ କରିଛନ୍ତି.
सर को कुह अनम्यूट करिवे. सर
madam.
आपण अनम्यूट करंतु. कृष्ण सर आपण अनम्यूट करंतु. Good morning to all my students. कृष्ण सर टिके सर को सर निज को आप अनम्यूट करंतु.
मु अनम्यूट करछि तो.
नहीं आपण करिसेंती. कृष्ण सर को कहूची.
मौसमी
कृष्ण सर
मौसमी एटा करेंट नाही.
अच्छा आपणकर फोन में चार्ज अछि. हां सर. सर आपणकर लैपटॉप.
हां लैपटॉप चार्ज କିଛି ଅସୁବିଧା ନାହିଁ. ମୋ ମୁହଁଟା ଟିକେ ଦେଖିବନି ଭଲ.
अच्छा
ଦେଖାଯାଉଛି ମୁହଁଟା?
देखा जाउची टिके झरका पर्दाटा आपण अडै दियंतु. पर्दाटा टिके अडै देले आपनको मुह आउ टिके देखा जिवो.
ନାଇଁ पर्दा ତ ମୁଁ ଅଡେଇ ଦେଇଛି କିନ୍ତୁ
हाँ
ଏଇଟା ଟିକେ ଇଏଟା ତ
हाँ
ମେଘୁଆ एकदम ହେଇକି ଅଛି. ବର୍ଷୁଛି ବହୁତ ଜୋରରେ.
हाँ हाँ वर्षा होची. सर आपण कोठी माने अछंती गंजाम रे ना एठी भुवनेश्वर रे.
ବ୍ରହ୍ମପୁର ଅଛି.
अच्छा बरहमपुर रे अछि. अच्छा अंजना ये श्रीनिवास सर जॉइन कले
मैडम जॉइन करछंदी
अच्छा हो सर नमस्कार श्रीनिवास सर नमस्कार
हाँ
अच्छा
मैडम
आगे
नमस्कार सार को
आगे
नमस्कार प्रोफेसर विष्णु चौधरी सार को नमस्कार।
हाँ नमस्कार नमस्कार।
अच्छा गायत्री करा मैडम जॉइन कले
ना मैडम करना है
तांको कहिलो
हाँ मैडम कॉल करती नंबर दीजिए इसको
अच्छा हो ताले शी विल जॉइन शी हैज टोल्ड अच्छा जावेदा मैडम अच्छंती की
मैम चेक हो चुका है नो मैम सिलेक्ट द मीटिंग
अच्छा सुना माने कृष्ण सर ये आउ जण को फोन रो जॉइन करिवे सेति पई तमे तांको अलाउ करिवो से को राजेश सर को फोन रो जॉइन करचंदी तांको फोन
Yes,
असुविधा अछि हैला ओके देन let us start my request to students that please mute yourself and whenever you want to ask a question at the end of the session we will have 10 to 15 minutes so that at that time you can ask the question and you can put your question in the chat box okay so all of you are requested to put off the video and also you will mute yourself so now sir namaskar we
नमस्कार।
welcome ये myself ये Dr. Moshmi Patnaik welcome you ये on behalf of my students and staff yeah, we welcome you to the PG Department of Political Science and the PG Department as well as so many fans of yours are eagerly waiting to listen to Bishnu sir because you are actually an excellent speaker in a very lucid and precise style. So that is why many had given their interest that they would like to listen to Bishnu sir. So that is why we are having a YouTube link so that all can listen to you. Now, sir is known to me by through my guide, ye Professor Bibi Jena. Now, Berhampur University has been very special to me because my guide and their entire staff at Berhampur University, they are so knowledgeable and so humble that anytime you call them, they are just ready to speak. Now, since a period of 3 years, we have been trying to connect to sir, but somehow or the other, my former head of the department, Dr. Mandakini Das, we could not actually have that privilege. But thankfully now, in the pandemic time, we have got to connect sir, who is at Berhampur right now. And my students are really honored and privileged to listen to a great teacher. Now, a short biodata of sir. Sir has done his masters from Berhampur University with first gold medal. Now he's a gold medalist in MA. Now he's a life member of many important institutions and organizations, associations like IPSA, Indian Political Science Association, and Indian Institute of Public Administration, and Odisha Political Science Association, also. Sir, his outstanding achievement was that he was a member of Regional Imbalances Inquiry Commission. Please mute yourself. All of you, please mute yourself. Now, sir was a member of Regional Imbalances Inquiry Commission constituted by the government of Odisha. He has a number of books and research publications to his credit. He is acknowledged as a sincere teacher and he is undoubtedly an excellent orator. We welcome you, sir, with all gratitude to this department. Sir, now the floor is yours.
Thank you, respected principal, of Shailabala Autonomous Women's College, Cuttack, Dr. Javeda Hussain, Madam, the head of the department, Dr. Mausimi Patnaik, my esteemed colleagues, and scholars and friends. I am really delighted to be a part of this webinar. And as Mausimi Madam has rightly said, I have been getting invitation for the last 3 years, but I could not make it because of some other engagements. And when Mausimi Madam requested me, I said yes. I'm doubly privileged because this is a great college, the first women's college in the state, established way back in 1913 and named after Shailabala Das, who has been a great champion of women's education and women's rights. She was also a member of the Rajya Sabha, and her sister Sudhanshu Bala was one of the first women lawyers in the country. She fought her case to be enrolled as an advocate. So these two sisters are great in their own ways. And during this pandemic time, when I'm asked to speak, I see a situation wherein we are all with masks. Madhubabu rightly said, I quote, Jati nandhi ghoso cholibo ki bhai swartha ko sarathi kole Tanekire gadi danar toboda ghoda muhe bandha thile. So those ghoda muhe bandha thile, now we are also being restricted in our movement, in our social interaction, in our academic pursuits. We have many limitations. Now we have this digital mode. That is how instead of seminars in the college premises, we go for webinars. At the outset, I thank profusely the principal and the head of the department for taking the initiative of organizing series of seminars for the benefit of the students. Coming to the topic proper, I wish to submit that India is one of the largest countries of the world. In terms of population, is the second, and in terms of geography also, it is a very big country. It is a country of great diversity. It is a country of diversity in terms of culture, language, then geography, climate, then other factors also. So this multiculturalism or pluralism is the base of Indian federalism. When we talk about Indian constitution, Indian political system, we basically discuss Indian political system or Indian constitutional system under the parliamentary federal framework. We have a parliamentary system as well as we have a federal system. Why you have gone for federalism? Most of the students, you know the background, the historical factors, the background of preparation of our constitution, the Government of India Act 1935, our familiarity with a federal structure, and you know most of the countries of the world, they have federal constitutions. So, considering the background, historical, political, we have gone for a federal model, but interestingly, we have not gone for a real federal country. Why? Not a single word like federalism has been mentioned. Today, I was going through an article by an eminent author who says the only reference that was made in our constitution was the Federal Court of India, which subsequently became the Supreme Court of India. Otherwise, not a single word like federalism or federal form of government is indicated in the constitution. Rather, Article 1 of the constitution says, India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. So if you look into the federal structure of the country, one of the central state relationship for a long time basically was two-dimensional, center versus the states. But you find that after the 73rd and 74th amendments to the Constitution of India, we have now got a three-tier structure. Actually, the center periphery model, which we have borrowed it from international politics, but we have utilized it in the Indian constitutional system and its analysis. So now we find three sets of relationship pertaining to our federal structure. Number one, union versus state. Second, state versus local. Third, national versus local. Why I am emphasizing on the third one? Because in case of even repairment of or construction of drainage system or any public utility in the urban local bodies or in Panchayat Raj bodies, you depend upon federal funding, central funding. I am reminded of a particular incident in Ahmedabad. Once there was gastroenteritis. So thousands of people died, and a committee was constituted which said, because of the water, this disease has come. So at that time, in early 70s, the government of Gujarat required 1100 crores. When I was teaching my students in 1978, I was giving this example. So naturally, the Gujarat government said, we are not in a position to spend 1100 crores. Gujarat is a rich state, remember, to remove the pipeline with a new pipe connection. So now any state government you go, excepting 3-4 states, most of the state governments, they are not financially very strong. That is the crux of the problem. So far as the center-state relation is concerned, we have gone in different phases of our federal structure, how it functions. For example, different prime ministers, they have their own style of functioning. For example, to testify my argument, I can say that between 1950 to 1967, we found a model which was known as Congress model. Why? Because though political parties were never mentioned in the Constitution, only it became a part of the Constitution after the Anti-Defection Act came into operation during Mr. Rajiv Gandhi's period. Political parties are lifeblood of democracy. So naturally, you cannot run the system without the help of political parties. Whatever our nature of party system, we had a one-party dominant model, which Maurice Doan said. Rajni Kothari, who was one of the most sought-after intellectuals till today, and he wrote profuse. He said that our party system is a Congress system. So most of the issues and challenges pertaining to center-state relationship were handled by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru from 1950 till 64. Even after 64 till 67, it was either Shastri ji or Madam Indira Gandhi who maintained that Congress system, because most of the chief ministers were from the Congress party. I repeat, most of the chief ministers were the Congress party. Then this Congress dominant system was seriously challenged in 1967. And we find the Congress returned back to power with 283 seats to the Lok Sabha, that too with a reduced majority, and in 8-9 Indian states we found non-Congress governments. Then started the tug of war between the center and the state. And therefore, in this connection, you find that the Madras government, now it is renamed as Tamil Nadu, appointed a committee chaired by Dr. P.V. Rajmannar, who was a former Chief Justice of the Madras High Court, the chairman of the 6th Finance Commission of India, and a great jurist. He recommended that center be given autonomy because the center is behaving like a headmaster to the towards his students. There was also a comment that states under the Indian federal setup have been reduced to glorified municipalities. I emphasize the word glorified municipalities. So again a tug of war started. You know, in 1971 again Congress came back to power with the slogan Garibi Hatao. Then the Congress model operated. Then in 1977 we find a change in the center with Morarji Bhai Desai leading the first non-Congress government at the center. And it was expected that Morarji Bhai and then party president of the Janata Party, Chandrasekhar, would agree to more autonomy to states. They did not agree. Rather, Morarji said, our federal structure is just like a necklace on the neck of a woman. Every element of the necklace is connected to one another. Therefore, you cannot withdraw a part of the necklace and see that the necklace is on the neck of a woman. That was a famous comment offered by Morarji Desai. Because Morarji Desai as well as Chandrasekhar, they were all part of the Congress culture, there was no change. But in 1980 again, Indira Gandhi bounced back the power with the slogan, vote for the government that works. Overwhelming support. In most of the Indian states, again, Congress back to power. But in 1983, a remarkable change occurred in the Indian politics. Two southern states, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, they were lost to non-Congress parties. In Karnataka, Ramakrishna Hegde became chief minister, and in Andhra Pradesh, N.T. Ramarao, a film star turned politician, became chief minister. Then came the serious challenge to Congress monopoly of power, because these were the two states which consistently supported Congress party. 83 was a departure, and you find opposition conclave, Southern Council of Chief Ministers. I am not going to dilate, except to suggest that on certain issues, the central states had to fight. What were the issues? First is financial devolution of power. States wanted 75% of the funds that you collect, you must give to the states. Second, on the role of the governor. Third, on the role of the Indian administrative service and other central services. Fourth, on the role of the paramilitary forces. Now also you find controversies. Fifth, on the application of Article 356, which is popularly known as President's Rule. So many then different institutions like Planning Commission, which is no longer there, Election Commission, Finance Commission, all these centrally dominated commissions. So there are so far as the three lists of power also, there have been controversies. You know, the entire central relationship can be discussed under three broad headlines. One, legislative powers between the center and the states, administrative powers between the center and the states, and financial power under the between the center and the states. All these are allocated in the constitution because that is the basis of federalism. The word federalism comes from the word feudes, which means treaty-or agreement. And the four important features of federation is dual polity or two sets of the government, distribution of powers, rigid and written constitution, and finally, independent impartial judiciary. All these things are there, but in practice it was seen that on legislative field, the center predominates. On the administrative field, the center has extra power. Under the financial field, the center has an edge. That is why many political scientists said India is a quasi-federal country. India is federal in form but unitary in spirit. Dr. Bhimarao Ambedkar, while defending federalism in the Constituent Assembly, said the whole world is observing a particular trend of centralization of power. India cannot be an exception. But let us say that the spirit or the basis on which we have gone for a federal system, we will follow so that the states' rights will be maintained and center will not be also weak. Because a weak center means dangers to its sovereignty, danger to its territorial integrity, danger to national integration. So you have to keep the entire country together. So in a way, we have been for the last so many decades, we've been arguing in favor of autonomy versus centralization of power. But what do you see today? Today, Hindu, in its editorial said, after 25 years, we have a government at the center which is being managed by a single party. After the resignation of the Akali minister, Mrs. Kaur, Mrs. Badal, on the farmers issue, after the death of the Lok Janashakti party leader Ramvilas Paswan, who was handling food and civil supply or consumer affairs, after the withdrawal of the Shiv Sena ministry under the particular background of the formation of the government of Maharashtra, we find this is the only government in the center now. All the ministers belong to one political party. We call it NDA, but where are the associates? That is number one. Second thing, in that particular editorial, it has been suggested that unless you go for a consensus model, you cannot have inclusive growth. For example, under UPA or even earlier NDAs, you find regional political parties were in the front part. Regional political parties were very influential. They were deciding who will become the Prime Minister of India. We have regional satras like Chandrababu Naidu, like G.K. Mupanar, like other leaders who were deciding who will become the Prime Minister of India. So the pull and pressure was different. Now it is one party rule. BJP has 303 members in the Lok Sabha. So no need of any support from LELs. And therefore the functioning has changed. Secondly, in India you find BJP has purely 5 states under its control. The Indian National Congress has 3 states under its control. We have coalition governments in 17 Indian states. And we have 5 state governments which are led by opposition parties, not necessarily by the Congress. So out of 30, including Pondicherry, the statistics is 5, 3, 17 and 5. So under that circumstances, we have to discuss about how we are managing the COVID pandemic. So far as the pandemic is concerned, it is pandemic because it has affected more than one country of the world. That is the definition. It is COVID-19 or coronavirus 19 because the first patient was diagnosed in China on 30th December 2019. That is why it is called COVID-19. So the COVID, and it has become a global epidemic, and it has affected each and every country, except a few countries of the world. Every country in the world, they have been affected. It is a question of degree, but not of kind. The current statistics says that in the world, 10,85,000 353 people have died due to coronavirus. In India, the infection is more than 71 lakhs, 7.1 million. Though we claim that our death rate is low, do we claim that our recovery rate is better than any other country of the world? Still, we are in a panic condition. It has created such panic that nobody is sure about his future. Like Shakespeare once said, tragedy incurs in mind pity and fear. Pity because you pity a person who has been fallen a victim. You fear because the same fate may also befallen you. Each one of us, we are in a position where we do not know what is our future. Tomorrow, what will happen to me, I do not know. And one of the reasons why this is spreading is we are now conscious, we are now aware of the disease, and we are also aware that till there is vaccination to curb the disease, there is no panacea to this. But we have a feeling that it will not affect me. It will not affect me. Like in a center-state relationship, I often say to my students, everybody demands autonomy. But autonomy, what type of autonomy? Autonomy, yes, but not below me. The center demands, the state demands autonomy from the center. But the state is not prepared to give autonomy to the municipal organizations or urban local bodies or PRIs, Panchayat Raj bodies. The urban local bodies are not prepared to give autonomy to other functionaries below. So the formula is, or the dictum is, autonomy yes, but not below me. The principal wants autonomy from the university, but the principal is not prepared to give autonomy to the head of the department. The head of the department is not prepared to give autonomy to her or his next in command. So tendency is power is concentrated. Like we say, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Quoting Lord Acton, we say power is also something. Anybody who enjoys power will try to concentrate power. That is what is happening. So public health, now I will come to the issue. Public health and public order are subjects in the Constitution. Being closer to people, the states have a much larger responsibility in fighting the war. Because when we talk about fighting coronavirus, who is fighting? At the base level, at the village level, at the mohalla level, at the town level, not at Delhi level. So this is there. Some states were proactive in dealing with COVID-19 outbreak, invoking Epidemic Act of 1897. This Epidemic Act of 1897 came after the impact of plague. You know, Mr. Rand was killed when there was plague in Bombay and other places in Maharashtra. Mr. Rand was killed, and after that, this Epidemic Act was made in 1897. We have this act still in force. So even before the government of India declared a universal lockdown invoking Disaster Management Act 2005. So students must remember these two, the Epidemic Act of 1897 and the Disaster Management Act 2005. Whatever guidelines they are issued by the government of India or the state governments are basically. Article 246 of the Constitution provides that distribution of legislative subjects, which I have already indicated, between the central government and state government. It does so by creating three lists in the 7th schedule of the Constitution. The center under entry 29, I repeat, the center under entry 29 of the concurrent list has the power to set the rules of implementation, which states prevention of the extension from one state to another of infectious or contagious diseases or pests affecting men, animals, or plants while the central intervention was done to enable consistency in the application and implementation of various measures across the country, the actual implementation on the ground level will have to be done at the state level. Furthermore, states are better informed to decide areas and activities where relaxation should be done as the coronavirus curve till the coronavirus curve is flattened. On March 24, 2020, Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi declared a nationwide lockdown from March 25, 2020 to April 14, 2020. The government came, this government's decision came in the backdrop of COVID-19 outbreak and was intended to enable the concept of social distancing to contain the spread of the virus. Additionally, the central government also found consistency in the application and implementation of measures across the country has become necessary. So the central intervention came, and we find that many initiatives have been taken by the central government to deal with the matter. I will come one by one later. But what is the criticism of the opposition? Because it has been rightly said, most of the criticisms are political rather than legal and constitutional. This point has to be noted. Most of the either the stand taken by the central government or federal government or the union government, whatever you call, choice is yours, and even the perception of the state government is governed by the state government and its the politics. Behind everything there is politics, because the politics is a game of power. Who gets when, how, that is what we find in the real. So what are the criticisms? Kapil Sibal, a prominent lawyer of the country, a leading lawyer, he identified some of the lacuna of the government of India. You know, he was a union minister of HRD in the UPA government. He said, center is passing the buck to the states. First criticism. Second, the center should have a national plan to tackle the coronavirus under the Disaster Management Act 2005 rather than delegating all the responsibility to the state governments. Third, the lockdown was imposed without consulting the state governments, and the migrant workers were left to fend to themselves. This was a major issue. As per the Disaster Management Act 2005, unlike the union government was duty bound to formulate a national plan to deal with COVID-19. Number 5, the Union Home Secretary presiding over the National Executive Committee, NEC, this is very important for you, under the Act, is issuing directions to the state governments to deal with the situation on behalf of the central government as best as they can. Section 10(2) of the Act authorizes the NEC, National Executive Committee, with the Home Secretary as its chairman, to assist the National Disaster Management Authority in discharge of the responsibility under the Act. The NEC under the Section 10(2)(b), surplus B, is to prepare the plan to be approved by the NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority, and lay down the guidelines for preparing disaster management plans by different ministries. So different ministries, they come into operation. In a state, students should know, we call it a department. In a center, we call it a ministry. So that is there. Then the question of protecting health there. Then we find the Union Home Secretary gave certain guidelines. Union Home Secretary on April 12, 2020 wrote to all Chief Secretary asking them to book people under the relevant provisions of Disaster Management Act 2005 and the IPC, Indian Penal Code, for false claims, obstruction, false warning, and disobedience, among others. In another letter to the states asking them to make proper arrangement for the disbursal of money from the banks under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana that was to start on April 3, 2020. The Health Ministry issued another advisory to elderly asking people to stay home, avoid meeting visitors, and elderly people, senior citizens, one at a higher risk of COVID-19 infection due to their decreased immunity and body reserves, as well as multiple challenges associated with comorbidities. So in a way, we find that on 31st December 2019, the WHO was informed of a coronavirus with unknown cause, and that was identified in China. So the world is facing an unprecedented trial. I will give you two examples. Now we find that India has experimented many measures, and at least the Dharbi experiment in Bombay. Dharbi has the area of, say, 3.5 square miles. It has a population of 6.53 lakh people. It is one of the most protected area in the world today, because the population 3.5 lakhs people live only in a limited area. So the physical distancing in Dharbi was a problem, but now somehow they have been able to contain this one. Then regarding other perceptions of different political parties, let me say, D. Raja, who is the General Secretary of the Communist Party of India, said the center had virtually abdicated its responsibility of helping the migrant workers on assisting the states on their time of crisis. Rahul Gandhi, the former president of the Indian National Congress, said the union government should not act as a sahukar, moneylender, giving loans to the people. Instead, it should help them with a direct cash transfer. Many states governments, particularly Chhattisgarh state CM, also said that they have no additional money that has been transferred to the government because of the pandemic, and therefore they are facing the music. Kerala Finance Minister T.M. Thomas Isaac, one of the most articulate finance ministers, he said that statutory grants be released forthwith, and the revenue deficit grant should be granted under the recommendation that has been recommended by the 15th Finance Commission. So following the center's strong objection, Kerala, which has eased the certain restrictions, was to toe the line of the center. Then regarding other matters, I may put out, Javadekar, who is the union minister, said, in our politics, there is a double speak. To a large extent, I agree with this, because if you see the entire functioning of the center-state relationship in its historical perspective, in different phases, under different Prime Minister of India, most of them have resorted to, or most of the parties in power at the center have resorted to double speak. We call it, in one word, hypocrisy. While in opposition, they take a particular stand on a particular article or a particular measure. They take, for example, 356. While in opposition, they will say that we oppose the implementation of Article 356, lock, stock, and barrel. When they go to power at the center, they are the first person to initiate 356. Thank God, because of certain important developments now, it is not possible on the part of the central government to impose 356. You know, its majority in Rajya Sabha is not up to mark. That is one of the reasons. So Javadekar said, in our politics, there is a double speak. You witnessed it when domestic flights were started. Every state has come up with their own protocol and is applying different quarantine rules. They are deciding independently, depending on their own assessment, Yet people accuse the center of centralizing power. It is not concentration of power, it is cooperative federalism as its best. So the central government is arguing that we are going for cooperative federalism or competitive federalism. We had no COVID hospitals, but we have now, at that time when he gave the comment on June 2nd, 2020, Javdekar said, now we have 800 COVID hospitals. We have 1 lakh. We had one in Pune. Now we have 3 laboratories for testing this virus. We have manufactured masks, PPE kits, then swab sticks and other that is necessary under the Atmanirbhar Bharat within 4 months. The ruling parties at the center and the states are becoming more sensitive to criticism by opposition parties, while the BJP at the center is complaining that the Congress and left parties are weakening the morale of the fight against the twin national crisis of health and economy. The ruling Shiv Sena in Maharashtra is attacking the BJP for the same reason. In West Bengal, it is the ruling party and the center. So it has now become a fight between Mamata Banerjee and Jagdeep Dhankar, who is the governor. On many issues pertaining to COVID management, the governor has come to the media and was critical about chief minister. And the chief minister says the governor has no business to interfere. This is how it is functioning. Recently also have seen when BJP had a opposition march, how it happened, how the controversy is on. Then ministers and leaders of ruling parties in Bengal, they argue that it is the duty of the opposition to cooperate with the state. In West Bengal, when central teams were deputed, the West Bengal government was not prepared to accept them. Only after the Home Minister intervened, they allowed it. So Piyush Goyal accused the state government of the controversy between the center and the states. And he said, we are ready to run 300 Sampark special trains, but the opposition ruled states are not registering and they are not demanding. He cited the states like West Bengal, Jharkhand and others who are not interested, but they are having baseless and factually incorrect allegations. That is there. Then we come to the other phase of my analysis. 80 districts in the country in the lockdown period contains virus spreads. So in the country, 80 districts are hotspots. The state governments have taken many steps to contain this, and testing, quarantining, then treating. These are the important things that have been done. So far as the other matters are concerned, what are the measures we have taken? Suppose interstate borders were sealed. The Home Ministry cleared the movement of Shramik specials or standard passengers. They also allowed different airlines to operate to bring people from outside. The UGC has issued advisory for the academic year 2020-21. The self-help groups have been mobilized in different states to help in the fight against corona. The chief ministers and the prime minister have interacted on many occasions. There was also the meeting of the home minister with other chief ministers on how to deal with this. But you find the other criticisms have been, for example, Sitaram Yechury, the general secretary of the CPIM, said the center is behaving like a big brother by concentrating all authority with them. 2, lockdown should have been imposed with a proper preparation with 4-hour notice. The Prime Minister gave no time either for the state governments to prepare or people to be prepared. This led to unnecessary chaos. C, or third, for April 27, only 9 chief ministers allowed to speak. Odisha, Puducherry, and others were BJP chief ministers. So there was a political bias. The chief prime minister should have allowed all chief ministers to speak, not select chief minister who will speak. Allow everyone to give their opinions. This kind of pick and choose was not allowed. He also pleaded, Yechuri also pleaded for more financial resources. He also said pay GST dues, transfer PM CARES fund. This PM CARE fund has also become a very controversial matter, you know that. Not only physical federalism, but politically federalism also being threatened. Where are central teams only to opposition ruled states? Why you send it to Bengal? Why not to BJP ruled states? This was a criticism. Punjab Chief Minister Amarinder Singh said, he said the revenue grants of the state for 3 months must be immediately given because they have a shortfall. Regarding other measures, Dr. V.K. Paul, the member of the Niti Aayog, said COVID-19 is a new animal in the zoo. We are still understanding the virus. We know it is pandemic. It is no secret that India's health infrastructure needs to be augmented. Currently, states across India have been instructed to marshal all their resources to ensure that we are able to contain the virus. They have been instructed to use all legal and emergency powers and funds to cater to any medical situation that may arise. We are looking at 2 types of technologies, products. One is diagnostic kits and the other, of course, vaccine, which is a long-term solution. Then 30 additional secretaries and joint secretaries have been deputed to assist state governments in managing the outbreak of COVID in different states. Then we come to other aspects. What are the demands of the opposition parties in India? I have told you that parties play an important role. The demands are the 22 political parties which met in a video conference convened by Sonia Gandhi, the Congress president, on May 22nd, 2020, articulated the following. Number 1, they accused the union government of unabashedly usurping the power of the state governments during COVID-19 pandemic. Number 2, the allegation was made that the spirit of federalism had been forgotten as all power is now concentrated in the Prime Minister's office. I repeat, Prime Minister's office. I was going through an article written by an important author, journalist Sachidananda Murthy, who said that when the COVID-19 pandemic started, the Prime Minister appointed a group of ministers headed by Rajnath Singh, the Defense Minister. After a few weeks, that ministry, that coordination committee is not meeting. Instead, the Government of India has created 10 secretary level committees to go through different issues, healthcare issues, transport issues, communication issues, and other related issues to deal with pandemic. So he justified, he said, from the group of ministers, you have now transferred to group of secretaries. So how it is now operating? The cabinet secretariat will coordinate all these groups, and finally they take the nod of the Prime Minister's office, particularly the principal secretary to the Prime Minister. We are proud that we have an Oriya now in that post, Mr. P.K. Misra, who is from Sambalpur. His decision seems to be final because he is close to the Prime Minister, and whatever decision the Cabinet Secretary takes, though Cabinet Secretary is the top official of the central government, we have no Chief Secretary's office and center. Students should know that therefore the Cabinet Secretary is the most important bureaucrat at the center. But even if these secretarial level people decide, ultimately the PMO decides. That is what has been pointed by Sonia Gandhi and other people. So what were the demands? they had a charter of 11 demands to be fulfilled. Number one, a cash transfer of 7,500 per family. Number two, free rations. Number three, transportation of migrant workers should be arranged immediately. Then four, restoring parliamentary functioning. Parliament institutions must function. Five, revised stimulus package, a true fiscal stimulus in order to stimulate demand in the economy. This demand in the economy is now being on focus because recently, yesterday, Mr. Sitaraman, Nirmala Sitaraman, the finance minister, has given a package. Each central government employee class 4, he will given 10,000 as a puja gift, Diwali gift. And the LTC that has been drawn by this Government of India servants, they will given cash voucher. So now the tourism and travel industry, they are opposing this decision because once you give in cash, their tourism and travel industry will function. So now 25,000 crores they have been earmarked for this. So they have been taking. So this was pointed out by the opposition parties. Then they also demanded that the center has failed to discharge the duties in a timely manner and should take no time for showmanship, one-upmanship. All the three chief ministers criticized the center who were present among the political parties for delaying the dues. The Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, said, I quote, the economic crisis is getting unbearable to handle and there is no money. It is getting very difficult for us. Double challenge, COVID-19 pandemic and the cyclone that West Bengal faced, he said. The union, Uddhav Thackeray, Chief Minister of Maharashtra, said, BJP-led union government has been unresponsible towards non-BJP governments. The economic plan announced by the center is tilting towards supply-side measures and has little to spur the demand. Rahul Gandhi, former IMC president, compared the sudden announcement of lockdown with the demonetization and called government strategy unscientific in nature. Then I have already talked about the central versus West Bengal. I did not repeat. Then the center's approach towards COVID-19. This was very well articulated by Bhupendra Yadav, Member of Parliament, and who is the General Secretary of the BJP. He said, we have taken following steps or taken measures. Number one, COVID-19 has unleashed a crisis and it is a humanitarian one. Number two, it is also unprecedented. We have never faced such situation in the past. Third, the Modi government is very effective in handling the crisis at hand. Fourth, when 2 days of the first phase, within 2 days of the first phase lockdown, the government announced 74 lakh crore rupees for the poor and the migrants. Next, 800 million people to get free cereals and cooking gas apart from cash through direct transfer for 3 months. As many as 6.93 crore farmers were benefited through the PM Kisan scheme to tide over the COVID-19 crisis. The movement of people was restricted because the government needed time to get the healthcare infrastructure ready to tackle COVID-19, like PPE, testing kit, and quarantine centers. Shamik trains have been pressed into service since May 1st. Our 20 lakh crore package aims at making India self-reliant on 5 pillars of as enunciated by Modi: economy, infrastructure, technology, then vibrant demography, and demand-driven system. The package is holistic in its approach and offers stimulus to all sectors from agriculture to MSME to big business. This covers the relief offered by the Reserve Bank of India to banks, The banks will in turn pass the relief to customers. Then I've already told you about the video conference with the Prime Minister. I do not want to repeat because of shortage of time. I will come to the other parts of the analysis today. Particularly, what is now needed to deal effectively with COVID-19. Issues of concern. So under the federal system, as it has been rightly pointed out by Jaswant Sinha, a former finance minister, he wrote an article, lengthy article, where he said cooperative federalism is a hollow promise. There is a glaring gap between the stark ground realities and propaganda made by the central government. Indian federal system is badly challenged today with partisan governors, misplaced politicians, languishing financial assistance. States have been in throes of financial stress before the outbreak of COVID-19. The national lockdown have further weakened their fiscal position. The people who are housebound or homebound to the cities, which they contributed to build, they have failed them. The migrant workers were not treated properly in different states. Tackling an impossible virus is a challenge. The country must have to take proactive measures. Then suggestions and conclusions. Number one, disaster provide opportunities to correct structural changes. The states could work out a strategy of addressing distress conditions and simultaneously initiate long-term measures to bring structural changes in the policy towards migrants and informal sector. Number two, it has been proved beyond doubt that our public health system is not in good shape. So public health system must be augmented, mostly reactive in terms of measures such as scaling up purchase of equipment during a crisis, preventing diseases, and promoting health must be given priority. Strengthening human resources, including capacity building, supplemented and complemented by the use of technology to face the calamity of this type. Number three, scale of disruption caused by COVID-19 pandemic has never been so before. There is no clarity in the time. Clarity the time it will take to come out of the crisis, the extent of damage it will inflict, and the cost of relief and rehabilitation required. At a time when government both at the center and the states are physically stressed, I repeat, at a time when governments both at the center and the states are physically stressed, the pandemic has forced them to undertake huge expenditure to save lives, livelihoods, and reduce distress, and even more to create a stimulus to revive the economy as we map the existing strategy. The country is literally placed in a wartime situation. The central government has to announce relation in the state's fiscal deficit effective participants in the struggle. It is also important for the states to realize the importance of health and prioritize spending on healthcare services. The center must recognize that winning the war on COVID-19 is linked with the state being armed with enough resources. Being closer to the people, the states have a much larger responsibility in fighting the war. Public health as well public order, they are state subjects in the Constitution. It is hoped that there will be better coordination between the union and state government instead of claiming credit and opportunities to blame. The central government to provide additional borrowing space of 2% of the GSDP from the present 3% of the GSDP. Chief Justice of India, Justice S.A. Bobde said in an interview to Hindu that the executive with its three M's, men, material and money, is better equipped than the judiciary and the legislature to lead the battle against COVID-19. The courts cannot dictate the government how and when to deploy resources in the present crisis. India's COVID crisis has generated other controversies. Narendra Modi, in connection with raging COVID-19 pandemic, exerted in a letter addressed to all Indians, first among of his second successive term. Remember, first year of the second successive term. Remember that the present and future of 130 crore people will never be dictated by an adversity. We will decide our future, present as well as our future. Former Union Finance Secretary Arvind has suggested that center should allow the states to devise their own economic strategies which inflict the state's reality. Within the states too, the local administration, that is more important. I was stressing on PRIs and urban local bodies, the third tier. Rajiv Gandhi called it third tier. The third tier must be empowered with power. Now you find they are doing tremendous good work in dealing with COVID-19. The Odisha government has given the sarpanchas the power of a district collector. The SSG, social self-help groups have been mobilized in a large way to help. The Panchayat Raj functionaries have been mobilized. The urban local bodies have been entrusted with the responsibility. Local administration must have enough autonomy to act according to the ground realities within the overall. Any violation of order passed would be prosecuted under section 188 of the Indian Penal Code, a very ineffective and broad provision dealing with disobedience. Then the healthcare facilities across the country should be augmented at different levels with efficiency and sufficiency. Then, Madam, I'll take another 5 minutes. Okay?
Okay, sir. Okay.
The issues of efficiency and sufficiency. The impact of COVID-19 has shaken even the states like Kerala and Tamil Nadu that have traditionally good infrastructure for healthcare. Now you find recently Kerala has also the spiking of COVID-19 cases because of many reasons. Because particularly of Onam, there was a spread. This is time to decentralize political power and arm the states with greater decision-making capacity. India lives in states, not in Delhi or state capitals. Our states need to be provided more funds from the center. It must, center must also sustain support, and it must also strengthen the state governments financially. Then other matters that have to be taken care of has been that we should look at the crisis as an opportunity to improve our habits and behavior. Sustainable development goals like sanitation, cleanliness, and hygiene, they must be given importance. We must enhance our agriculture-based economy, which has immense possibilities, and outline data-based record must be created for the migrant workers. You know, migrant workers and their movement has become a bone of contention. Then we have also to go through how this can be contained. One nation, one ration card has been introduced to ensure food security. It will cover 67 crores in 23 states, covering 83% of population by August 2020. It was the target, and 100% by March 2020. So now we have to go for certain things. For example, maintain distance, Today newspaper I have seen one MLA of Odisha Assembly suggested that instead of social distancing, we must go for physical distancing, because social distancing is a term which is not well taken. We are social, man is a social animal, as he is a political animal. 6 feet or 2 gauge, then washing hands frequently and thoroughly with soap and water, avoid touching eyes, nose and mouth. Now the current has come. Wear homemade reusable face cover, mask at all times, use tissues and handkerchiefs while coughing. These are the suggestions. So this has been given in a Hindi. बढ़ाकर अपना व्यवहार, बदलाकर अपना व्यवहार करेंगे कोरोना के पर वार. Then the government of India has taken many steps. It will take much time, so I am not going to highlight them except to suggest that the street vendors have been given help. The MSME sector has been given help. Affordable housing scheme for the migrant workers have been arranged under the Prime Minister program. Then Government of India has permitted state governments to utilize state disaster response fund for COVID management. 12,000 HSGs in the country have been placed into service to produce 3 crore masks, 1.20 lakh liters of sanitizers to give them opportunity further. It is our, it should be our motto. So finally, I will say that we have taken many steps to contain COVID-19. So instead of confrontation, let us cooperate. Because the test of a good federal structure will depend on cooperative federalism. Because the people concerned are the same. If you consider the federal worker, federal government, whose what is the mandate of the federal government? To serve the people of India, and they are divided into different states. So same people, and whatever, interestingly, whatever money is being given by the center, it is given to the states, and states are giving to PRIs, to urban local bodies, to district administration, to different other organizations to help. So ultimately, decentralization of power, devolution of resources, politics of accommodation, politics of consensus on important national issues will allow our federal structure to run smoothly and as per the desire of the framers of the Constitution. With these few analyses, I could have spoken more. I stop here, thanking profusely Mausumi, who is the live wire of this. And interestingly, we were trained in our academic, building our academic personality by the same man, Dr. B.B. Jaina, my friend, philosopher and guide. I am told he has donated some books to the library of Political Science Department of Shailabala Women's College. There was a time when Professor Jaina was not prepared to spare a single book. When I met him during his last months, he requested me to take all the books in a truck to Berhampur, give to anything. Then when I failed, Mausumi came to his rescue and transported some of the books, because he has a tremendous love for books. He has kept the books and magazines of 1950s with him. Imagine. The entire room, I am not showing you, my entire room is filled with magazines, newspapers and books. So we are, as teachers, we are there. But now the present generation of students, teachers and students, they depend on mobile, internet, so no connection with books, they never visit library. The last words, I call upon my students to go through books and journals. There is no alternative. Internet may give you some information, but not all. There is no substitute books. There is no substitute to teaching also. I would have been very happy to interact with personally, because when you see 100 people sitting and looking at you and you look at them, the speed is different The articulation will become different, and new information will automatically come your mind. But today we are to depend on technology. Today we are to depend on these webinars. One of the challenges being faced in the country today is how to open schools and colleges. The UGC is giving direction, which many state governments are opposing. The central government is giving direction, NEET, how they have organized the JEE Advanced, how they are organizing now entrance test. So we are under compulsion now, but we have no choice. We have no choice.
Sir, thank you very much. You have given a very broad and vivid expression of the federal balances and imbalances prevailing in the contemporary times. And now just I would like to intervene because the principal is here, Dr. Javeda Hussain, madam, who was not there in the beginning. So I welcome Dr. Javeda Hussain. She has been a constant support and inspiration for anything and whatever we do. Also, I welcome madam and tell her to speak just 2 lines on the occasion. Madam, please, because after that we have some questions which have been kept by my students. So, madam, please speak a few words. Please, I welcome you, madam. Madam, Javeda madam. Javeda madam, kindly would you speak a few lines? I think she's busy in some work. Now, my former head of the department, Dr. Mandakini Das, is present here. Madam, namaskar. We would be very happy to speak a single line, 1 or 2 lines on the occasion, so that the entire webinar will be complete. Madam, I welcome. Mandakini madam, I welcome you. Sir will be very happy if you speak 2 lines on the occasion. Mandakini madam. Sir, I think there is some technical problem. She will. Okay then, sir. Let us go to the questions. There are a host of questions. Please mute yourself. All of you, mute your microphones because there is some disturbance. Good minute, sir. The chat box रे questions पढ़ुची. Sir, can you listen to me? Okay. Sir, actually, Krishna Chandra Sahu has posed a question. The pandemic produces a cooperative federalism. What are the yardsticks to check the power of the state in the pandemic if the state misuses their power? Now, would you like to say in a few lines, sir? There are many questions.
The answer is very clear. I have already told you. Any state violating, the center can intervene. I have given West Bengal example. When a central team visited Bengal, Mamata Banerjee didn't allow them. They remained in the guest houses of the CRPF. Then again the central director came, you allow them. Because at last the center dominates. You cannot.
Okay. Sir, Mandakini madam has a wonderful question. Now, she asks that Professor Choudhury, thanks for such a comprehensive analysis. What is your observation to the allegation that center delayed in taking steps on COVID-19 for the politics of Madhya Pradesh and to welcome Trump, the president of US 2020? So this is a real controversy, sir. When the entire world was suffering, Modi took the step of welcoming the president of USA.
No, this is a valid criticism.
And
but the fact
aggravated.
This is a valid criticism. But the thing is, I have told you, most of the decisions taken by the party or parties in power are political, not legal. They are very much interested in their party's interest. how to consolidate strength, how to be in power, and how to garner power for to remain in permanent power. So another thing was actually nobody considered this to come so easily to India and grab us. Already it has been on 13th of March. I was in a seminar in Bengal, West Bengal. It was a national seminar. At that time also there was check in the airport, and there were some steps, but the step that he took suddenly was delayed because of these measures. There is no doubt about it. So Mandakini Madam's observation is in tune with the critics that have raised this issue on several fora.
Sir, really, sir, when New Zealand, a small country, was so much fast, agile to take steps, but India is a big nation. It took a lot of time for a lockdown. Okay,
Yes.
then, sir, let us
Yes.
move to the next question. Sonali Das has a question. Sir, is this pandemic and the outcome of the globalization? What will be the real consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic and corporate annual financial statements and the entire globe production system? Her
You see,
question is,
this is a fact that the first patient was identified in China, in Wuhan province. It was some sort of disease, but it was later on given this COVID-19 name because it was in December 19. Second thing is, it came from a laboratory, but opinion was divided whether it was the product of a laboratory which suddenly came, or it was a deliberate attempt by China to have its supremacy. Secondly, they identified also some animals, Baduri, we say in Odisha. That may be the cause. It has created havoc in the world. Even in America, the statistics is very much alarming. More than 2 lakh people have died due to COVID-19 in America, where health infrastructure, public health infrastructure, or the health system is much better than in India. But the only thing is, if people do not sincerely follow the guideline, problem. You find now you go to any town, just open the market, just open the big bazaar, just open the liquor shop, you find line. Yesterday I was going through the media in a TV in Bangalore. There was a harakari. People waited for biryani till 6 a.m. to get a plate of biryani. Of not getting a plate of biryani, but they had a queue up from 6. So this is our attitude which is, and it is spreading. Regarding it has definitely impacted on the global economy, as the question was put. Unemployment is on the rise. Our gross domestic product is having downfall in every aspect. Growing unemployment, underemployment, devaluation of money, everything. People don't have money, no purchasing power. So like India, every country is being affected. And another thing is, China is not coming out with the real truth. Even in India, in many parts, the real figure is not coming out. We are suppressing to show that we are containing this. This is another dangerous, people. If somebody has some tendency of COVID-19, we are not prepared to go to a hospital or to a doctor to test it. That way we are spreading the disease. So it is the men or women who are responsible for the spread. If we want, we can contain. For last 6 months, I not moved out of my home. Though I love talking to people, I love moving. And I was moving throughout Odisha and many parts of India to deliver lectures. Now I am confined to my home.
Okay. Sir, can we move on to the next question? There
Yes.
are pretty long list of questions. You can answer shortly. And actually, I think, sir, globalization is also responsible because from the Wuhan to Italy, the way the textile workers, they actually traveled during that period of New Year, which China was celebrating, and again they came back to Italy, and that was a cause of spread. And yeah, globalization has actually intensified the entire process of the pandemic, the intensification of the pandemic. Now, there is a question by my student Sudha Swai. She asks, do you think both central and state government failed in preparing a stronger strategy to deal with the problems of migrant workers across the cities, as the migrant workers were in the worst, gave us the worst sufferers during the lockdown? So she asked about,
it is a fact that the migrant workers are contributing to the growth of the state to which they belong. They also contribute to the growth and development of the states where they are working. That is why Kerala government is the first government to call them Atithi, guest workers, not migrant workers. Migrant workers is a bad word. Migration is having different dimensions. One is a forced dimension, forced migration. Then the other is getting good money outside. Suppose a worker in Ganjam district will go to Surat, he will earn 1500 per day, whereas he cannot have 500 per day here. So there is nothing wrong. But distress migration is something very bad. Secondly, we have treated them very badly because suddenly the lockdown was declared. They did not have time. So many of them, they worked. And recently in the parliament, a question was put to the labor minister. He said, we have no data of how many migrants were killed. Everybody knows, it came out in everybody that 16 people are killed on the train track, railway track. 12 people while they were coming, they died in a road accident. So they could have kept data. But how insensitive we are towards the migrant workers, we don't even keep the data of the migrant workers. Then suddenly, most of the state governments were not prepared to bring them back to their own state. But ultimately, again, political concession way. They are also voters. They have family members at home. If they are not treated properly, in the next election, they will teach you a lesson. So every state government, Bihar, Odisha, everybody said, no, you come, we'll make our arrangements. But Odisha has done a good work in managing them.
okay, sir. So there could have been a better strategy by not by the way of confrontation as the states and the center deal in the migrant. They could have accommodated. Yes, sir. Thank you. Now, sir, the next.
No, I will add one.
Okay.
It is a fact that neither the central government nor any of the state governments were prepared for any eventuality like this. It was Kerala state which took preemptive steps. So thereby, initially, it checked it. Because the first coronavirus patient was detected in Kerala. Large number of Keralites are outside India. So the first visitor from China to Kerala was the first patient in India. But we were not prepared for such eventuality.
Okay. Sir,
Like
the
yes,
next question by Gyurupa Sahu from final year UG. She asks, due to COVID-19 pandemic, what makes center-state relations different in the field of national economy? National economy. She asks
economy.
about economy.
No, national. Because of COVID-19, the central government is facing crisis because the GST money is not being collected properly. The state governments are also equally facing crisis because no tax. That is why many state governments have allowed liquor shop to open. Now Kerala is opening tourism within a few days because tourism is a great source. So now every state government is in red.
Yes.
Financially very weak. They were not in a position to give their employees salary on time, DNS allowance on time. That is why the central government and the state government they have delayed giving their DA and temporary relief to the pensioners. They have also cut the MP lad fund and MLA lad fund. They have also got the salaries of the MPs and MLAs as a gesture, as a token of gesture that we have to contribute something. So both center and state, they have been affected, and it will have an effect for next 5-6 years.
Okay. Sir, also the GST compensation was delayed from the center to the state. Though there was a promise that up to 2022 there would be a GST compensation package. But when the states were asking for it, the center has just a few days back has released or will release the funds to the state. So that could also have been done money earlier, because the states were on their own like this without any finance. You rightly
No,
have
no,
said so. Now,
And then the central government is also facing the pinch of this.
right.
So they have
Yes.
no money. Yesterday, the GST council met. Nirmala Sitharaman has put the question, now it has come out in the media, press, that
Yes.
can the GST council competent to change any law? So 10 state governments were opposed to the idea of borrowing. They said, the center borrow and give us. Three ruled states have agreed with the central government to borrow themselves. Again politics. Again politics.
Sir, next question by Dipti Rani Das of second year UG. Sir, do you think coronavirus outbreak order? Now, this is a question relating to global affairs. Reshape global. Actually, we had a seminar with Netaji sir yesterday, where most of her concern were addressed yesterday. So, Dipti, with all humility, I would like to skip it. Now, next, the question is Sonali Das. How coronavirus is altering India's cooperative federalism? So that sir has actually answered most of your concerns, that how there were confrontations as well as cooperation, and how finally cooperation is important, accommodation is important. Now, the Anjana.
Yes, ma'am.
अंजना प्लीज हाँ ଟିକେ ଦେଖିଲ ଶ୍ରଦ୍ଧାଞ୍ଜଳି ର ଗୋଟେ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ ଥିଲା ଆଉ ଶୁଭମ ଦାସ ସାରଙ୍କର କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ ଥିଲା ଟିକେ ପଢିଦବ କାହିଁକିନା ସେଟା ମତେ ଦେଖା ଯାଉନି ଆଉ ପ୍ଲିଜ କାଇଣ୍ଡଲି ରିଡ୍ ଶୁଭମ ଦାସ ସାରଙ୍କର ଥିଲା ସାର୍ ଆଉ ଆମେ 5-7 ମିନିଟ ନବା ଅଲରେଡି हाँ अंजना
yes ma'am.
हमें पाउचे शुभम सर कर क्वेश्चन
yes ma'am.
अच्छा ठीक है पढ़ी दिया सर को तांकर दीटा क्वेश्चन थिला तापरे श्रद्धांजलि रे पढ़िबा हां
yes ma'am. So the question asked by Shubham Das, we have seen that the way government of India has assaulted on the federal structure of our constitution by eroding Article 370. Though education is a subject to concurrent list after 1976, Government of India has imposed a centralized new education policy over the states without consulting the states. How you visualize this unprecedented attack on Indian federalism by a fascist central government?
No, we cannot, in a democratic system, we cannot call a government fascist. Number one. Secondly, abolition of 370 has become a debatable topic for long in India, but it was a promise made by BJP in its manifesto to abolish Article 370. Yesterday, the former Jammu Kashmir Chief Minister gave a statement that we want to restore Article 370 with Chinese help, has not been well received. So Article 370, on these debates have been conducted, and it was a promise made. You have given them vote, you have given them 303 seats. With allies, they got 353. In the Rajya Sabha, they have got a stable majority by influencing some regional political parties. So they have done it. Then if another party or group of parties will come to power in future, they may give it in a different shape. Secondly, what is the other question? 370 and another is?
Anjana, next part about the education policy.
National education policy.
But it is an imposition on the states, the policy.
No. Again, it is a debatable one. We have been debating on national education policy. There have been many points on which the state governments have got their own reservation, particularly on the basis of language and other issues. And secondly, this constitutional arrangement, in case of concurrent list also, in the constitution says, in case a particular legislation is made on any item of the concurrent list, the central law will prevail over the state law. And the state law has to be drawn till it is repugnant to the union law. This is the constitutional prescription. So they have an education policy, but do you think that this will be implemented tomorrow? I have gone through, you organize another seminar on national education policy. I will talk every aspect of education policy. They have clearly indicated that it will be implemented within a period of 20 or 30 years. And huge funding is necessary. They are talking about 6% of GDP for that. So many state governments like West Bengal, like Kerala, they have appointed committees to go through the national education policy and to also bring forth this before the central government. So some of the measures, but the only thing is when they announce such a policy, and some of the people, they say that we had a dream to make this education policy, and our ethos, our principles, 60% have been accommodated only. We are planning to implement our policy 100% in the next education policy. So that is bad. India is a pluralistic model from the very beginning, I have told you. Great diversity in terms of language, culture, geography, economy. So you can't impose anything. Imposing anything is bad. But certain things, for example, promoting local language, teaching through mother tongue, creating research, more space for research, giving flexibility for change, like we have introduced this system. Somebody taking political honors can take a part of a paper as human rights, CBCS courses. You see, not only that, in India, even in the state level, they want to centralize. Central admission, central syllabi, central recruitment. I told you the nature of power is like this. Why to blame the center? What about other states also? Karnataka model. Karnataka has its own model. Centrally it will dominate everything. Bengal has its own model. Odisha has its own model. We never thought. We are talking about autonomy. We are talking about decentralization of power. We talked about academic autonomy. What is being given to us? You see? So same thing. So criticism will be there. But what is needed is we must do something which is for the betterment of the people at large. Keep the different communities, different linguistic groups, different religious groups, different social groups into our focus so that we can have inclusive education. For example, the new education policy talks about equity, inclusiveness, then women's education, then focus on research, industry academia collaboration, international of higher education. These have been talked about for last 20 years. Quality education. And what is quality education? I will give 1 hour for quality education. At last, if there is some question by some student, sir, what is about quality education? The answer will be Gunatmaka Shiksha. Gunatmaka Shiksha is a translation of quality education, but quality education has a definition. I was I was interacting with the newly recruited lecturers through selection board in four universities, Sambalpur, Berhampur, Baleswar and Utkal. I was telling them, what is quality education? Quality education means, it comes from the word qualis, which means what kind of education? Is it job oriented? Can you get job after passing with this degree? So quality education means an education that will help you in getting job or help you in earning your livelihood is quality education. For that you need good faculty, good infrastructure, focus on research, digitalization, to take help of the ICT. Now you are taking help of ICT to have this webinar. So there are so many things, many aspects of quality education. Ours will not be sufficient to speak on quality education, but we say quality education. If you move around the Odisha or any other state, move colleges, what type of quality education is being imparted? Were we deprived of quality education in 1970s when we were students? I think answer is an emphatic no. We were getting quality education without technology. Chalk and talk. I can speak for 3 hours without having any aid. No problem. But if the technology doesn't support you, you stop it. So I never say the technology should not be used, but jocularly I say PPT. Is PPT better or putty is better? If you have one preparation, PPT preparation, features of Indian Constitution, then for next 30 years you will not go for anything. That feature is there, that it is a parliament democracy, that it is a federal system, that it is a written constitution, that is partly factual, partly rigid, that it provides for secularism, that it aims at so points are 12 certain points are there, and you point it out to students. But no, everything secularism topic I was teaching for 15 days. What is secularism? What is parliamentary democracy? Another 15 days. What is federalism? For 20 days. Now 2 days or 2 classes, federalism over.
Sir, gotte last question re jiba. Another last question. Shraddhanjali Panda, she is actually the ex-student of Shailabala, and now she passed out from Revansha, and she has formed a group called Different Politics. Many students from there have also joined. She has asked a question: do you think COVID-19 pandemic has increased the power of central government in many aspects, specifically the problems faced by the migrant workers after lockdown, which seems like another ground of emergency? Same, sir.
No, the migrant issue,
Asking about
the migrant issue, the migrant issue, I will tell you, centers around 3 things. Number 1, regarding their safety, security, job security in the places they work. That is one question. Second question is, after they have come from different states to their parent states, homecoming, what arrangements the central government have done for them for transportation, providing railway facilities, providing other modes of transport, and what the state governments have done, who footed their bill. Third thing, after they have come to their respective places, how for few months they maintain their body and soul together. So MG Narega was utilized, 40,000 crores were given by the central government, and it has become now more than 1,10,000 rupees for the financial year 2021. Second question that arose is, are the state governments in a position to do skill mapping of those migrant workers? Have they provided them job? Have they allowed any schemes to operate for those migrant workers who have come back? If yes, what? If no, why they have again returned? places where they were working earlier before COVID-19. Many from Odisha have left for Surat, Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Kerala. Why? Same is the case with Bihar. Same is the case with Uttar Pradesh. Why they are leaving? Because we are not in a position to provide them employment. Because it is a fact that they consider agriculture to be not financially viable. You cannot depend on agriculture only for your survival, because we are not going for diversification of agriculture and other facets. So it is a very peculiar question. In my opinion, both the central government and the state governments have a role to play in solving the problems of migrant workers.
Okay, sir. Now we are actually done with the questions. Now it's time for vote of thanks. My esteemed colleague, Dr. Gayatri Kaura, will now propose the vote of thanks. Gayatri, madam, please join us.
Yes. Good afternoon to all. Now we come to the end of the seminar with a formal vote of thanks. Respected Principal, Professor Javeda Madam, respected Speaker of the seminar, Dr. Bishnu Choudhury, our beloved Head of the Department, Dr. Mausami Patnaik, dear colleagues and my dear students. It is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making the seminar a very resounding success. First of all, I would like to give a hearty vote of thanks to our Principal Madam, who blessed us with her guidance. Thank you, Madam, for your support. I, on behalf of Political Science Department and the entire fraternity of this college, extend my sincere thanks to Professor Bishnu Choudhury sir for gracing today's seminar, sharing many valuable thoughts, issues, ideas. Thank you, sir, for your thought-provoking, interesting, and also analytical discussion. I think the students must have benefited from the seminar to a great extent. A big thank to the master of the seminar, to Mausami Patnaik, for her sincere effort. And also, I am thankful to Mandakini Madam for her support in each and every sphere of work in our department. I would also like to thank to Dr. Srinivas sir for his moral support, and I also extend my heartfelt thanks to Krishna sir, Anjana Madam for their cooperation in making the seminar a grand success. Specifically, I thank the wonderful students who are the backbone of this event. Thank to all the people who directly or indirectly helped to make the seminar a grand success. Thank you all. Thank you. Over
Okay,
to
thank
Madam.
you. Thank you, Gayatri madam, for the wonderful vote of thanks. So now, sir, thank you, sir, for everything, for your blessings. Sir, in future, we would like to expect future collaborations with you, sir, because
What is the total attendance?
total
How many people attended?
total attendance, sir, actually is more than 100. It was actually 89 today, and many are watching on YouTube, sir, because yesterday it was much more than 100. So today we have created a YouTube link so that those who are not here, they have